Welcome to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. My name is Katie Dodd, and I'm a nutrition entrepreneur. I spent 7 years as a side hustler before diving into entrepreneurship full time. Before making the leap, I was bringing in 6 figures through my side hustle. If I can do it, you can too. This podcast is for dietitians, interns, and students who want to be inspired to start or perfect the side hustle of their dreams. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to the 217th episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast, Dietitian Collaborations. I'm so excited today to have on the podcast Christine Milmine. Christine is an amazing entrepreneurial dietitian. She is a blogger at Plant Powered You. She runs the dietitian Facebook group called Dietitian Collaborations, and she's just an amazing human who has a heart for helping other people get connected, collaborate, and grow together. And so Christine also helps me in my business. She's a VA within Dietitian Side Hustle and Blogging Accelerator program. She has been such a blessing for even getting out these podcast episodes. And I love that Christine has this whole other thing she's doing. So I'm like, Christine, you got to come on the podcast and share more with the audience about how you can help them to collaborate with other people and grow their businesses and make more impact. So welcome, Christine. And I'd love if you could maybe share a little bit more about you for our listeners.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Katie. It's been such an honor to work with you and also to come on here and chat more about collaboration. So I guess I'll just share a little bit of my story, if I can, about how I got started, inspired to talk about collaboration within our field. So like you mentioned, I am a blogger. So I started my blog, it's hard to pinpoint a day now, but it's been a while that I was inspired to start a blog. I was into vegan nutrition and just chatting more about that. Like you, Katie, I know that there was lots of misinformation about the subject online. And I think when I look back and think about why I started my blog, for one, I really loved writing, but also I think that I was a little nervous about putting my face out there, like getting on video, doing things like collaboration where I go on Facebook Lives with another dietitian to collaborate. And so I think that I started it from a good place. Like I wanted to help people with my writing, but also I thought that I could almost kind of hide behind my blog. And I guess I felt like I didn't even have to put my full name out there. And then I talked to a SEO person within our space, and they were kind of like, well, how will people know like that you're a dietitian, for instance, if you don't put your full name out there? So I kind of came full circle with that and decided I wanted to do it anyways, even if my name was out there. And I say this because I'm sure some of you guys can relate, right? Some of us are scared to put ourselves out there. But let me be a testimony that you can do it, because now here I am today collaborating with so many different people. And so back to my story, basically I started my blog. I had a goal of getting to a higher end ad network to get ads on my blog and make some more passive income that avenue. But along the way, I discovered the power of collaboration. So I made my own little Facebook group, if you will, for dietitians inside of my niche. And I found myself starting a podcast and collaborating with a lot of the lovely people inside that group. So here I am, someone who was scared to put my name out there years ago, and now I'm getting on my podcast, which later led to, like getting on Facebook Lives with folks. I just discovered the power of collaboration and how wonderful it feels to not only get more visibility through a collaboration, but also to serve your fellow collaborator because they're also getting more visibility as well. And it was so much fun. So the shy little me just found myself really enjoying it. I also found that it was nice to actually talk with another entrepreneur because sometimes it feels so lonely, right? When you are just here in your solo business. So it had that benefit as well. So all that to say, I have now really embraced the power of collaboration. And I feel that I am on a mission to help more dietitians learn about this. We were just talking before the podcast about how we feel like God is leading us in different directions. And something that I will say about this year, 2024, is that I really strive to put God as the chief advisor of my business. And I just feel like I have to get the news out about how wonderful collaboration is. And so that's some of my story.
I love that, Christine. And I love how, and I think a lot of our listeners can relate to you 100% because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people who listen to this podcast are maybe a little bit more introverted, don't entirely want to work with
Mm-hmm.
clients in business, and kind of like you, like, oh, let me just be on a blog. People don't have to see
Mm-hmm.
me. But I love the
Mm-hmm.
story how you've kind of come full circle to where you're like, no,
Mm-hmm.
actually, there's a lot of value in doing this, and not only like you're doing it and you're good at it, and you're almost like an accidental leader. Like you went into this
Mm-hmm.
space and you became this leader with your Facebook group where you've really brought together dietitians in the plant space and vegan space and starting your podcast. And it's been really cool, just someone kind of on the side to watch you continue to grow. And as you've like been like, okay, guys, let's all do this. Let's collaborate. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that story,
Absolutely.
and I really love your heart in this. So I know we keep throwing out the word collaboration, but maybe we should take a step back and clarify,
Mm-hmm.
what is collaboration, and why do you think dietitians should consider doing it more often?
Mm-hmm. So I don't have any definition to pull out for you. So to me, I just try to put this in simple terms, if you will, is that collaboration is something that you do with someone else, or it could be multiple people. And basically the goal, you have a goal with that collaboration. So usually for us as business owners, it's probably more visibility. It's a way for us to get in front of more people. And so that is a collaboration. And a lot of people think straight to social media, like, getting on, dancing with somebody else or doing something like that. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be through blogging. Like you could write
Mhm.
a blog post for someone else and they could do so for you on your blog. It could be through email. You could feature each other in an email shout out, for example. There's so many ways that could involve video, and they don't have to involve video. Like I mentioned, I was the person who said years ago I probably wouldn't do a lot of video. And here I am doing a combination of both kind of collaboration. So,
Yeah.
what was that second question you had for me?
Yeah, I will get back to that, but I kind of want to just hit
Okay.
on this because I want to give people some examples, because I think that's a
Yeah.
great definition of working with others towards a common goal. I know
Hmm.
before this I was talking about how something that's just been on my heart a lot lately is when it comes to collaboration. It's like, for me, collaboration is we help each other win. We help each other
Yes.
with common goals. And we hear that phrase like a rising tide raises all ships. And sometimes you hear this conversation about like, oh, competition, other people in your niche,
Mm-hmm.
other people who are doing what you're doing. No, 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 we don't want them to win, because if they win, we lose. And I really don't like the term competition. I like collaboration over competition, because like, no, let's collaborate together. Let's work together with the right people, right? I mean, we got to make sure we find people who are a good fit for us. But I just see how we could all win together, and just even examples within my own business of how I collaborate, because I'm a big collaborator. So,
Mm-hmm.
and so I do
Yes.
collaborate in terms of blogging. I actually do that. I have a lot of dietitian students, people who have blog articles on my website. I've written for other people. This podcast is really a whole collaborative thing. I mean, that's what we're doing right
Mm-hmm.
now, is collaborating. I do
Yes.
Instagram lives, I do Facebook lives, I do YouTube lives, and even LinkedIn live. That's a thing too. And so I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten in front of other people's audiences. I've had people in front of my audience, but then also affiliates, where it's not just
Yeah.
helping people with like just the audience building, but it's where I promote someone else's program, they get sales, they win, I get a commission, I win, the person gets into the program, they win. And so I love collaborations a lot. And I know a lot of people listening kind of know a little bit about my business because they're regular podcast listeners. But
Mm-hmm.
when I look back at my whole journey, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be here if I was doing this alone. The
Mm-hmm.
whole bones and strength of my business, all of the dreams that I've been able to achieve, being present and home with my kids, all of this came because of other amazing humans who I've collaborated with along the way. So I
Mm-hmm.
I just really want to kind of hit home the importance of collaboration and how it's like we help each other win. And then the last
Mhm.
question here was, why do you think more dietitians consider it? That was the last piece that I'd asked.
Yes. Well, just like you kind of touched on, we were chatting about this before, that we feel so sad in some of the dietitians or business owners who feel like they can't collaborate because of all the
Yeah.
competition. When at the end of the day, I'm not going to say there isn't competition. But at the end of the day, there is no one thing that is going to guarantee you visibility within your business. So it's really, in my opinion, more about which path do you want to take. So do you want to potentially get more visibility by serving others, by helping someone else out? That's a choice that you can make. And like I mentioned, collaboration has other benefits other than getting visibility. Like it's so much fun to connect with another human being and helping them out, not just yourself. So, yeah, I would just say maybe try it.
Yeah.
See how it
Yeah.
goes. See if any of
Yeah.
those myths are bust about the competition thing. And I will say that I was there too. Like I thought, boy, if I collaborate with somebody, am I gonna lose? Like, some people who are following me, for instance, or are they gonna like them better, etc. And again, at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. The question is, are you going to try it anyways and see how it works for you and how it could hurt or help somebody else?
Yeah. Yeah. I like how
Yeah.
you mentioned it's not even just about more visibility. It's like it's fun to connect with people. And I also think it's
Mm-hmm.
inspiring because we
Yeah.
get on these calls with other people in our niche who are like, for the most part, people in our world that maybe love us, family, friends, they don't always know about what we do as entrepreneurs or side hustlers. And
Mm-hmm.
we start nerding out, excited, and they're like, okay, that's cool. But they don't get it versus someone else is
Yeah.
doing it. Like the conversations, how deep, how excited you guys get, it's totally a different level. And even just the conversations you have with other people in your niche, it's fun, but then also inspirational, motivational. You might even get just a little nugget by talking to them that changes everything in your business. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely so many good things with it. So the next
Yes.
question I have for you, Christine, I feel like we've kind of spoken about some of these things, but what are some ways that dietitians can collaborate? Like what are some specific
Mm-hmm.
examples?
Yeah, so I know that you shared a lot. So people can scroll back and check out those, but I will mention some that I don't think you mentioned. Some that we were actually a part of, I think, recently, and that could be a bundle or a summit.
Mhm.
So if anybody doesn't know what this is, again, I'm not going to pull out any actual definitions, but to me, a bundle or summit in the online space is an online event where the host might gather a bunch of other people to contribute something. So, in the instance of a bundle, it could be you contribute like part of a course that you have, or part of a workshop, part of a, something that you sell, and you are giving it away basically for free in an effort to grow your email list. Similarly, a summit might be where you speak at an event hosted by someone else. And I think it's just a really awesome way to collaborate with a bunch of people with the goal of getting more visibility and sharing with people how you can help them further with your awesome resources. So that's one that I think a lot of us don't talk as much about, and one that I have actually done myself in actually hosting a bundle and summit. It sounds intimidating, but it is so much fun, and I love the potential it has to collaborate with so many different people. So that is something I might throw out there for those of you who aren't aware of that way of collaborating.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Mhm.
that. What would you say to the dietitian business owner who says they just don't have time to collaborate? Like, that sounds awesome, Christine, but I don't got time for that.
Hmm. Well, something I like to say, for one, is that a lot of us think about collaboration and I think, oh boy, I got to take time to make these connections, etc. But at the same time, when we think about collaboration as marketing, because if you're a business owner, you're making time for marketing or you're outsourcing that to somebody else, then we realize where it kind of fits in the whole picture of our business and that this is part of my marketing time, essentially. So it is important to make those connections. And I think you've mentioned this before, but something that's also really powerful about collaborations is that it's almost like the other person is vouching for you, right? When you are collaborating with them. And so in my opinion, it is a very convincing kind of marketing strategy, because it's not just you who's saying a lot of awesome things and giving lots of value to people, but the other person is kind of partnering with you in getting the word out about whatever you're talking about. So um, when we think about it that way, I think that we realize that it's probably worthwhile of our time to give it a shot. Also, I've heard someone say this before, in that it's not exactly that you make time for things, but that you make less time for other things. That might sound confusing, but if you think about anything that you are maybe adding to your business, like say, like I'm going to try blogging, for instance. Well, we got to figure out like what can we do in our day to make time for that? So that might mean making less time for something else. I give this example of like some people do their dishes every day. But what if you batch that and did them every like 3 days or something like that? So now you have a little bit more time for something else because you batch things together. So with collaboration as well, of course, it takes time to develop those connections and to actually do the thing. So maybe we decide we're going to make less time for something else, or even outsource something else. Like you mentioned that you've outsourced some of your cleaning at your house, and I'm sure that saved you time to do other things, right, for your business. So I know that was a lot of things that I said, but hopefully it
Oh,
makes
no.
sense.
No, it does make sense, and I think it's also kind of
Mhm.
prioritizing where are we putting our focus in business? When I think of the
Yeah.
sales cycle, and I'm just gonna say this real quick because I could talk for an hour on it, but the sales cycle is how we make money as business owners, as side hustlers, and it is marketing, where we get eyeballs on our stuff, lead acquisition, where those eyeballs, people give us their email, that way we can contact them directly, they are leads,
Mm.
and then sales, where those leads now purchase something that we have to offer that can help them, and then fulfillment, where we fulfill on what was bought, whether or not it's a one-on-one package or a course or something like that. So this is a cycle that
Mhm.
always has to keep going if we want to have a successful business. So often as dietitians, we are focused on fulfillment because that's what we learned in school. We learned how to
Mhm.
fulfill. Someone gives us money. Okay, I'm going to serve you really well. And you're great at that. But we're not going to get the actual sales to fulfill on if we don't do all the other stuff. And so for me, when I look at where I'm spending my time, collaborations, it really
Mm.
is focusing on the marketing and can lead to the lead acquisition piece that is non-negotiable for business. It's, I feel like as dietitians, we can
Mm.
always come up with things to sell, but finding people to sell to can be really hard. So for
Yeah.
me, collaborations, it's just about growing our network, getting in front of more people, again, helping each other win, finding that motivation and growth. So I do agree with you. It's like, it's a part of business, right? It really is. And it's like,
Mhm.
we got to find time for it if we want to stay in business.
That's right. I love how you phrase that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So can you offer any tips for online dietitian business owners wanting to start collaborating? Because I think sometimes we think of collaborating
Hmm.
like, I'm going to go out to coffee or something, but for people who are all virtual,
Mhm.
like what are some tips on how they can get
Mhm.
started?
Well, for one, you could do a virtual coffee session. Could just be like, hey, let's get on a quick Zoom call. And I know that some people might find that intimidating. So something that I've actually came up with is inviting someone to virtual co-working. So that could mean, it's not exactly a high pressure of, hey, let's get on a call and like talk to each other for 15 minutes, but let's just, hey, we're both business owners. Let's just get on a Zoom call, keep each other accountable, and like work separately on our businesses. And usually that might lead to some other chit chat time to just get to know the other person. So that's something that you could offer if you feel a little intimidated by, let's get on a coffee chat. Um, but something else I was going to say for a tip is something that maybe a lot of the listeners have heard, but I had not heard about it until recently. So I'm going to share it anyways. I wish I knew who first came up with this tip, but this would be to, like with your current network, asking them if they know of anybody who might want to collaborate with you. Maybe a lot of people in your field who you've either collaborated with before, or they just share, a common niche or an adjacent niche to yours that might be helpful for your audience. So asking them, hey, can you connect me with somebody who might want to collaborate, like be on my podcast, be on a Facebook Live, etc. So maybe you guys have heard that, but I will say I hadn't heard it until recently, even though I think I was doing it a little bit. But I asked my husband, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard about that tip before." But if anyone hasn't heard that one, I think that is a golden tip, because you can really expand your network that way. And I will say that God has led me to some really amazing people through other people. So connections of connections, right? So those are a couple tips that I would suggest just getting started. I guess the final thing I might say, if I have 3 tips to give, is when you are connecting with someone, don't just spam like all of their content, because I know that's easy to do. Try to be genuine with your connection. Like, I'm sure you see this a lot too as a blogger. Like, people will just email you and say, "Hey, can you put my link on your blog?" And it's like they haven't even read our blog. Like, I've had people, ask about stuff that I don't even have on my blog. And it shows me that they haven't really read my blog or know what my brand is about, etc. So think about that too when you're connecting with someone. Like, what do you have genuine to say? Like, maybe you're interested in connecting with someone who is always showing their dog on Instagram. And maybe you have a dog and you can connect with, how you also love to do fun things with your dog. So think about those things that you can actually connect with on a deeper level. So not just on the business side and how can we help each other business to business, but what else do you have in common? I think you might be more likely to get noticed if you connect in that way.
I love that. I like the
Mm,
piece you mentioned about being genuine. I think of
mm,
honestly collaborating. I look at it as making business friends because
yeah,
that's for me what it really is about. It's like building
it
these like
is.
really solid relationships. And I think anyone who starts growing an audience gets all those cold emails, right? The
Mm-hmm.
cold emails of like, hey, I like your podcast. I like your website. Can you add a link? It's like they go right into the ask without the relationship
Yes.
building.
Uh-huh.
And I ignore those. I don't even respond to them because I
Mm-hmm.
get so many. And I probably lose some good ones in there too, just because, there's so many spammy ones. So I like what you said, don't
Mm-hmm.
spam like
Yeah.
everything, but
Mm-hmm.
but genuine, like, comment, share on social if applicable, if it's
Yeah.
genuine. And I do actually pretty frequently reach out to other entrepreneurs like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know about you. That's amazing. I would love to get on a call and chat with you more to find out more about what you do. So
Yeah.
I love all those tips. And if I were to give one final piece of advice for anyone, um,
Mm-hmm.
my advice would be just do it. It could feel a
Mm.
little uncomfortable, especially if you're introverted and you're like reaching out to humans. I don't know, but all it takes is sending a message, and just reaching out and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you do, you're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I reached out and met this amazing human. So
Mm-hmm. Oh, and
yeah,
one thing that I will say to that too is that I think that we should take caution in saying if we are introverted or extroverted. I've talked about this quite a bit in my Facebook group, but I feel like sometimes, even though it feels very true that we are introverted, when we say that, sometimes it feels like that we tell ourselves, oh, that means that I can't get on a podcast or I can't get on a Facebook Live. I can't do this or that because
yeah,
I'm introverted. And here I am with somebody, I'm being more introverted myself, but saying that I've done all these things,
yeah,
right? The things that I thought that I couldn't do because I decided I'm not going to put myself in that box that says, because I'm this way, I can't do these things. Because if I
yes,
told myself that, then I wouldn't have actually tried it and known that I liked it, right?
yeah,
So I hope that just encourages anyone who thinks that they can't do
yes.
anything because they are this and that personality type, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and that's a good
Yeah.
point because a lot of people
Mm.
think I'm extroverted and I'm not. I love humans.
There
I
you
do a
go.
lot of stuff that seems extroverted, but I am introverted. I recharge a
Mm.
lot, and that's okay. So I like
Hmm.
that differentiation between like,
Hmm.
don't hold yourself back because of labels maybe that you've
Yeah,
given yourself or had others give you. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So I know you have a masterclass coming up, Christine. So for anyone
Hmm.
who's listening to this live, Christine has a masterclass coming up next week on September 23rd.
That's right.
September 23rd,
Yes.
2024. My writing is very sloppy. And so if you're listening to this live, I would love, Christine, if you could tell dietitians more about this masterclass and why they should be there.
Yes, well, I have titled it Embracing the Power of Collaboration because, like we've kind of teased in this podcast, we think that there is some of that mindset out there that, competition is so rampant in our field that we couldn't possibly collaborate. So, this is about trying to talk more about embracing the power of collaboration, what we talked about today, but also to give more examples, show you like I talked about bundles and summits today, just give you more info about how you could possibly do that. So we're going to talk about a lot of the different collaboration strategies. I'm going to talk more about mindset shifts to make to be a good collaborator. So there'll be just more tips, more Q&A time if you would like to actually meet me and ask me questions. And at the end, I will be offering you to my membership that I have. So I have something called Dietitian Collaboration Z membership, where you can get more accountability and support if you are like, yes, I want to be a collaborator. So inside the membership, I help dietitians who are interested in using collaboration as a visibility strategy to not only serve our audience, but to also serve our fellow collaborators as we both work to try to get more visibility. So this is a membership for you to learn more in depth about collaboration strategies. Like I mentioned, I've hosted my own bundles summits. I have my own podcast. So I'll walk you step by step with how to actually do those things so that it won't be so overwhelming for you. And we meet either by the trainings, the workshops, or we get on a call for a Q&A call every month. And that's just a little teaser about what it's about. So come to the masterclass, learn more about collaboration. And if you are ready to get more support from me, I will be offering that resource at the end of that.
I love that. So the masterclass is completely free. You're going to
That's
go
right.
learn all about collaborations. And then Christine does have ways to continue to work with her if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to keep working with Christine and keep growing in this area. So where can they go to find the link to sign up?
So I will actually put that in the show notes. So I'll put the link for you to sign up there. And like Katie mentioned, it's free to join the masterclass. So I will do that when this goes live on Wednesday.
Perfect. And where can they find you online if they want to continue connecting with you?
Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned this. I've kind of teased it, but the best way to connect with me is through my Facebook group. So you can search on Facebook. It's called Dietitian Collaborations. And, you know, even if you don't want to connect with me, it's a great place to connect with other dietitians who are interested in collaboration. And I created it so that we could have a space for dietitians to come put out their asks. So if you're like, hey, I want to collaborate with somebody on their podcast, you can feel free to do that in this group. We also have free monthly connection calls where we just get on a Zoom call and get to know each other, no pitches. So just think of it as your Facebook group to find other people interested in collaboration. So that's the best place to connect with me, and I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Christine. This is a fun conversation talking about how,
Yeah.
as dietitians, we can and should be collaborating more with each other. And yeah, thanks so much for being on the podcast. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And I will see you all next week. Bye.
Thank you, Katie. Bye.